interesting man. And man, yeah. So, but it's some of his other stuff, like his poutine video. Whew, not for the faint of heart. He calls it pig poutine. It's fucking. He's an interesting guy. Well, this is technically take two. Well, I guess not technically. It is take two. Of the adventure with Adam. Adam was on. Well, that was like 2 months ago, wasn't it? Like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Whenever
I
we
think
recorded that, and then I don't know how somehow it got corrupted. That's why I switched to Zoom for these things. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since nobody in the land of the albino rhino knows anything about you, why don't you fill us in about what your podcast is? Just a little bit about yourself.
I'm Adam. I do a podcast with my two best friends from college. It's called You Hate to See It. Essentially, we get drunk and just record whatever comes to mind. Usually we show up each with like 3 or 4 topics, and we're lucky to get through one usually because we start it, and over the course of the hour that we record, we keep we do like the natural progression of conversation instead of having like the planned out script of we have to do this. So usually we pick our first topic, which is our most interesting one we think, and then go from there. And if then all of a sudden we just we just had a recording and I edited it, sadly enough for me. And
That's a
because
fun job.
sometimes we record for hour and a half, and I'm like, it's not good enough to be like, oh, we'll split it up into 2 separate episodes. So I'm like, well, now I just have to cut a bunch of stuff out, and I have to listen to ourselves babbling like nonsense. Um, but we just had one that we spent 5 minutes. We finished our whole spiel and our natural progression, and we're like, okay, so what else? Like, okay, I guess are we done? Like, and usually that kind of thing we cut out anyway. So then we go into our outro, um, our like brief discussion before, and I go, no, we still have 20 minutes left to record. We've only recorded for 23 minutes right now. And they were like, oh shit. Like now we have to fill this time, and I think we sat there for 5 or 6 minutes in either silence while we were all like googling things or on our phones trying to find topics or some like just trying to figure it out. And that was just interesting to have to sit there and listen to.
Man, that's why I use you got to use the waveform to kind of pick out where the interesting parts, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I look at that, but I'm also like, we are so stupid, and we just started recording in separate voice tracks.
Yeah,
So there's like little nuggets of gold that
that gets
that
sprinkled in.
that happened. I'm like, oh, and we ended up I ended up having to cut so much of like this weird stuff out that I'm able to fill bloopers before and after of like um the thing that we use to record is called Craig, and when we set it to record, it says hello, now recording, and then it starts recording. So usually the first 5 minutes of every episode is us talking to Craig of like, oh hi Craig, like because we're already drunk at that point, so we're just being stupid. So I ended up finding that we had enough stuff sprinkled throughout of just dumb that made no sense in the podcast, but was still funny. so I throw in bloopers in our episodes now, but yeah, like in those massive amounts of silence, we'll get like one person says one piece of comedy gold that with another random piece of gold comedy that someone else says, I can put them together, and it's amazing. It sounds like we actually planned to say that together. And
Well, that works. Well, speaking of drinking, what are you sipping on?
you know, that's a good question. Uh, I think this is just vodka, a bottle of vodka mixed with a 2 liter of Sprite. Um, I think it's probably mixed with a few other things. I have this pitcher that I just pour things in, and when it gets to be a little bit left, and I'm like, I'm done drinking for the night. Well, the next day when I start drinking again, I'm like, well, that's not enough to sustain me, so I add more to the pitcher.
The
So
pitcher of liquor.
this pitcher, I did this in college a lot, and now we're recording a lot recently because of everything going on. So I've started doing this again where I just have one pitcher. It gets cleaned maybe once a month, but I figured the alcohol in it kills anything anyway.
That kind of sounds like
And
my coffee cup.
yeah, and it I just recycle throughout every time that I drink. I just add more and more and more to it to fill it up again. And so there's probably tequila and
Little bits of all kinds of stuff.
rum, and yeah, I know I poured a week ago. There was Pink Whitney in here. Probably 2 weeks ago there was raspberry vodka. I usually stick with different types of vodkas, but there's a little of everything.
Right on. I'm a bourbon guy, so I'm pretty boring. It's all brown and burns.
You would get along with my co-hosts greatly because that's all they drink.
Yeah, well, I started on my bottle of Elijah Craig tonight. I figure I'll finish it with you guys tomorrow night.
Yeah, yeah. They Nick and Jeff love bourbon. They get weird stuff. Like usually, like once a month, they'll come out and be like, "I bought Top Shelf today, and this is the weird thing that I got at from Top Shelf." And I don't even know if this thing is bourbon, but we've had it before. It comes with a worm in the bottle of liquor.
What, mezcal?
Yeah, I think so.
That is not a bourbon.
It's not. I
It
remember
is
them
not.
buying that for a party at one point, but they normally stick to colored things where I'm more of a clear guy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can fuck with vodka, but the problem is I drink it like water.
yeah,
Like
that's why.
at some point I get so drunk, I'm like, it's just a glass of water. Blah.
That's my favorite part about it is also vodka is easy to change the flavor of.
That is true. That is
Like,
true.
and it comes in so many flavors. Like, I can make it taste however I want, and but yeah, my girlfriend hates drinking anything I make because I also live by I can't enjoy drinking unless I can taste the alcohol.
Well, I
And my
mean,
problem is I was an alcoholic in college, so I, it takes me a little bit to taste the alcohol, and she'll take a sip and be like, I don't even taste soda, and I was like, well, there is that. So
it sounds like her palate needs to be refined. Well, I mean, I just drink bourbon straight. That seems to be the best for me. Because I mean, I tend to drink all my. Yeah, I don't think I mix my liquors hardly ever.
yeah,
I've been straight for years.
the the we try not to mix besides my pitcher, which when I say it mixes, it's not like I'm mixing a full bottle of tequila, a full bottle of vodka. It's like
What's left over? Yeah, no, it's like a running tab. That's why I called it a
yeah,
pitcher of liquor, because I used to have kind of the
it's the
same
last
thing.
inch of soda mixed with alcohol mixed with more stuff. So I'm like, it's not that bad.
We used to
So
do the same kind of thing with like vodka and fruit. So like it would just be this picture of who the fuck really knows what. Because
yeah,
once it gets to a certain point, you just add more shit to it and just keep going. That
yeah,
way, if
and
you
once
wanted to eat some fruit, you could eat some fruit and get completely shitted. Or you could
honestly,
drink the liquor it was like
that
bathing
sounds
in and it would.
amazing. I'm going to do that. I'm throwing a big party this weekend for all my friends, so I might do that for my party.
I mean, depending on how big of the party is, there's always the official hairy buffalo. The hairy buffalo is a really good guy because what you do is you basically get like a big trash can that's clean and you fill it up with all kinds of different fruit and then you fill it up with all kinds of different liquor.
hmm
And it's basically just that's what everybody consumes at the party. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go clear, you do a whole bunch of different kind of clears like clear rum, vodka,
Yeah.
whatever. And you know, you have to do it the day before so that way the fruit has time to soak up all the alcohol and the sugars can break down, which ends up increasing the potency of the actual alcohol itself because it
hmm
just kind of adds a little bit to it. Hairy buffaloes are fucking good time, man.
We so in college, this is still a rule that we follow very strictly nowadays, but it's not as extreme now. But granted, when you had 5 people living in one house that all drank different things, and you threw parties at the house, that people would leave alcohol at the party, and so we would be like, "That's ours now. Thanks for leaving it."
Right.
Um, we got a big collection. We had this rule in our college house that was uh the anything rule, and the rule is if I go to you and say, "What do you want to drink?" and you say anything, you get a shooter with a little bit of everything. So we would then go. We would and like we wouldn't tell people. We had these rules posted up in our house, and you were expected to read the rules, but we couldn't tell you about the rules because one of the rules is if you're caught reading the rules, you have to shotgun a beer on the spot. So we wouldn't tell you about the rules because then that sort of like then we have to show you them, which then means that we kind of look at the rules.
You catch us looking at it, we catch you looking at it.
Yeah,
Everybody's look.
so we're smart enough to just not look, and like we'll be like, if you walk in and you start like doing all this stuff, and we'll be like, look at the rules, like that's all we say, and they're like, well, where are they? I guess you'll have to find it because I can't show you where the rules are because I don't want to shotgun the beer. So, but yeah, but yeah, so we would literally, it was like an event, like literally we would have a party that was maybe 50, 60 people, and we only know like 10 of the people there, and we we go, what do you want to drink? Because we're making drinks for people. Because fuck it, half the alcohol in this house isn't ours, but you left it unattended and it's ours now. So, and we, what do you want to drink? Oh, I'll just have anything you make me. Oh, anything? Okay. Hey everyone, and we call like, it's like calling Hootie Who, but to your own roommates, and you're like. And you're like, come on, and everyone comes down and they're like, what? And we're like, we have an anything shot. And they're like, oh shit. And you just see 5 people, arms loaded with different alcohols, and we just come to our kitchen table, set it down, put one shooter down, and we go, and it's like the like quick bloop 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 bloop, and if we overfill it, we keep overfilling it until everything's mixed in there. And then we go, all right, here you go. Like this is yours now, and it and it's awful because I made that mistake the first because I didn't originally live in that house. I was just a random party guest that then became friends with everyone there, and then the next year lived with all of them. And it was I made the mistake like my first night there, and that's how I became friends with all of them. Was I took the anything shot, and thought I was gonna die. So, because it tastes like everything and tastes like nothing all at the same time. Like there's so much going on. There's no like you can't focus on one thing. You can't be like, oh yeah, there's vodka and there's this and there's that, but you get the after feel of all of them. So you're like, I just want to die. I don't like this.
Yeah, I'll just stick with the bourbon.
Yeah.
I'll stick it because man, we used to fucking there was like a year-long period where me and about 3 other dudes were traveling the country, and we would only stay in hotels with bars, so that way we could just drink.
Yeah.
And we got so bad at one place in New Jersey because we were there for about a month, but we were like bringing in bottles of liquor and still paying the bartender for more shit. Like it was fucking insane.
Well, I mean, everything's legal in Jersey. So.
Yeah. It was me and my 3 buddies and like 2 mafia guys were the only people in the entire fucking hotel. It was right next to Camden. It was fucking weird, man. There's actually a really cool hotel right up the street that was a hotel slash strip club that sold sex toys in the fucking lobby. Jersey's
That sounds like a
great.
place I need to visit. Honestly.
I mean, you know, yeah, go ahead. It kind of had that, what was that fucking John Carpenter movie from Dusk Till Dawn? It had, you know, a total From Dusk Till Dawn vibe to it. I think we left, if that tells you. We were like, nah.
I remember. So I remember when I turned 18, I was like, I'm going to a strip club. Like I have to. That's like on the bucket list of like just like becoming a man kind of things to me is like once you can, you must. And like so my 18th birthday was in the middle of the summer and I lived with my parents. So I was like, "Oh, hell no, I'm not doing this now." But I played hockey uh at junior level, so I was like traveling and I lived with other families during the season and stuff. So I was like, that's my time to shine. So I was living out in Connecticut, like the winter year after I turned 18. Found a strip club that half of it was so like the stages were back to back with a curtain in the middle of them, and one half was for the 21 and over, and you were like walled in, you couldn't see anything, but they ran off the same music and stuff. And once I was 21 and over, because they had alcohol, and the other side was for 18 and over, which was dry. And so literally strippers would just circle and walk around. And let me tell you, I went in with $200 and left after spending over $800 because
They're good at it, man.
they were so good. They got me. They really got me.
They hustle
felt,
for that shit.
yeah,
I ain't mad at
I fell for
none of
the
them.
hustles. And I mean, I was 18 years old and first time doing anything like this, and I was like,
they pick up on that so fast. They're like, "Oh, look at this little baby." Yeah, you're
well,
gonna be
also they
broke.
gave me a few things for free because so I had my little soda cup there. It was like I felt like I had a little sippy cup, and it was on the bar or like on the dance ledge that I could set my drink on next to the stage, and the stripper went down to shake her like she laid down on her back and was like backwards twerking. It was weird. Not a huge fan of it, but her ass knocked my drink into my lap. So I got like a free lap dance, and they asked one of the strippers to help me dry off. Because it was literally right in the prime spot. So I had this stripper help dry me off for me, and then went and got one free lap dance. I was like, I'm okay. I'm fine with this.
Yeah, I'd quit one of those fucking places a long time ago, man. Nothing against them. They got their hustle. I know I've known too many of them. That game is dirty, bro.
Yeah, I did it the one time, and I was like,
I
I
think
would
I'm good.
only go back if I wasn't paying for it because I'm a weak man.
I
So
mean, it's like they're cool for when, younger bachelor parties and stuff like that. But I
yeah,
could I could think of a lot better things to do with my time and my money than go pay some girl to get naked.
yeah. I mean, at this point, I guess I mean I can't really do that for free. My girlfriend doesn't let that happen very often, but
Yeah.
close enough. Better than
Yeah.
spending $800.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I don't know, man. I'm married. That's pretty fucking expensive. So
Yeah, it was. See, that's the flip end of it. Is now you're on the back end where now you're spending more money to see someone naked.
and it happens less, but that's all
Yeah,
right. That's all right. I don't have
yeah.
to
My
worry about
girlfriend.
I don't have to worry about catching any of the newfangled diseases that these crazy
Yeah,
single people have to fucking deal with.
my girlfriend and I have been together for over 4 years. So yeah, we're kind of hitting that stage right now too. Of yep, not happening as much as we'd like, but
So where are you located at again? I forget.
I'm in the suburbs of Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So how's Chicago faring at the moment? I noticed the one of the few current events that you hear about the coronavirus is that it's spiking in all the places where the protests were, and you know
So yeah, we had it basically. I'm also friends with a doctor, so we had it under control. We were getting at her hospital. She was getting 2 to 4 cases a day of COVID. Then the viruses happened, or and not the virus. Then the
protests.
protest, yes, thank you, happened, and uh, for the first like week, their numbers, the people that they brought in spiked, but they were stab wounds, gunshot wounds, being beaten, stuff like that. And then the second week, they went up to roughly 50 new cases of COVID a day. And so they were like, okay, obviously this was protesting. And this was like the early protesting where it was still people being stupid at the same time. Like, like, trying to fight cops and stuff like that. Like, okay, like breaking windows, too far.
Uh,
And so that's when they started seeing it. And then once the protests became peaceful again, all of that, all the cases went down again. Because I guess people realized that they were stupid and that they shouldn't be doing some of the shit that they were doing. And so the cases went down. And yeah, like we've stuck with a pretty low thing, pretty low cases. Obviously, every new stage that we go in
where are you guys at right
open
now in your whole reopening? Like,
4. I think we're in 4 right now.
so are you guys allowed to have like live entertainment? Uh,
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 yeah, live entertainment with limited capacity. You can start seating people inside at 25% capacity. But they still tell you seat outside first, then go inside if you have to. To the 20,
oh,
like outside you can pack. Like they're like fill outside as long as they're 6 feet apart. Fill it. Once you go inside, 25% capacity, and so that's where we're at. But yeah, every new stage we spike, and then we level out, and then I'm sure once we hit stage 5 soon, we're gonna spike again, and then level out, and it's probably just going to stay at some kind of constant rate of like the flu kind of deal until we get vaccines that work and stuff. And my my friend who's a doctor, she was freaking out because they the ventilators that they were using were designed and built to be for one person. They had then monkey rigged it to be for 2 people because they were getting so many cases, and they were like, it's not doing to its full capacity that it should be doing, but it's better than nothing. And then they went and I know not long before we finally started like coming down in numbers, they had started turning away people over 75 years old because it's like they were saying like it's more important to protect the future than to protect you.
Well,
And that
I
was
mean,
that happened. It makes sense. It sucks, but that happened for like 2 weeks where they were turning down older people and saying like, I guess if you don't get over this on your own or with this medication we give you, guess that's it for you. We're sorry.
I mean, it was bound to happen. They said it was gonna.
Yeah, I mean it was happening everywhere, but yeah, and it was literally like, and it was at certain hospitals like Illinois was it was really weird because like we'd be hearing like, yeah, like some hospitals are able to take all these people, like everyone, they can do everyone, and some hospitals are turning away people if they're too old. Like it was like the distribution of like wealth and resources was not good enough. Like they were giving some places way more than what they needed and some places way less. And so yeah, so it was a weird thing of like, yeah, like you go to one hospital and they're like, sucks to suck, you're too old. You go literally to the next hospital over and they're like, yeah, we have enough stuff to take care of you. Like that, what?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was kind of meant to work like that. That way they could, at least I know here in Ohio, one of the things that they did is there was like the main place where they wanted everybody to go within a zone, and then secondary and tertiary hospitals after that.
Yeah,
So, like, your goal was to go to the main hospital in whatever your zone was. That way, they had, you know, the generally the most funding to begin with. So
yeah,
they had the most. And then once they started to get to a point where they had to start sending people away, then you would just be immediately directed somewhere else. But, you know, whatever. We're seeing a pretty decent rise, at least in parts of the state.
yeah. We're doing a lot better right now. We're still doing the like you have to wear a mask to go in any place. The weirdest thing is they require you to wear a mask when you walk into a restaurant, but then once you sit down at your table, the mask is no longer required. But if you get up to like,
Well, they can't require the mask. There's no legal way to word it. From what I understand of why they did it that way is because there's no legal way to word it where you could eat or drink.
yeah,
Right? Because no one is going to go to a restaurant if they have to take their mask off, put the food in their mouth, and then put the mask right back on and chew
yeah,
with the mask on their face. Like, we already have proven that we don't want to wear them.
yeah,
So, you know, eating through one definitely doesn't sound like a great idea.
yeah.
Because
We were
nobody's going to
just
do it. So they have to, and not to mention, you're not, in theory, you're also not supposed to be moving by people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, like, once you're sitting, the people that move by you aren't, you know, they're supposed to have a mask on. So if they
yeah,
do breathe or cough, it doesn't come out. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I think Brett Weinstein said unless 80% of the people in an indoor environment are wearing a mask, it doesn't fucking matter.
yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, that's what's weird about it is there's, even with the cold science, like, it doesn't matter. Our median age of infection is dropping in Ohio. So whereas
Yeah.
before, you know, it was like 70 something.
Hmm.
And I think nationally it was higher than what the actual like average age is of death. So I mean, like, COVID was beating the national average of death for a
Yeah.
long time. Like, now it's just the old people. Now here in Ohio, it's like it's creeping down to 45. So you know, it's dropped like 30 years. It's weird, but you know,
Yeah.
it's it's I think it's a lab engineered thing that escaped, simply because if you know anything about like proteins or any of that kind of shit, like disease theory and genetics and all that kind of stuff, it's really hard for like a living virus to jump from a host to a completely separate kind of host and then be able to spread amongst that community. You know what I mean? Those are
Yeah.
actually two different mutations, which is like the I guess like the easiest way to kind of explain it for people is like, so we're both white. Um, the difference is I'm an albino and you're not. You have one flipped protein basically in a gene, right? And I have two.
Hmm.
So you're the first mutation that allows the disease to jump from the bat to the person. And then I'm the second part of that allows it to spread in between people. And they can't find in the genetic code of this specific virus where that first mutation happened.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's obvious, it's blatant. It's a flipped gene. It's not supposed to be that way. They know what the coronavirus is. They told us they have a bunch of them. This is
Yeah.
number 19. They've got
Yeah.
18 that they already have. So, whatever. I mean, maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't. But you look at like the spread in New York. I think it's weird to see the difference in the spread in Chicago and the spread in New York, because Chicago didn't get it as bad.
Yeah.
But
We're
it's
pretty good.
designed a lot different. Whereas New York is basically like one huge connected tube, which I don't think they enjoy too much anymore.
I know.
Chicago's not as interconnected. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
So they were talking about, like, they looked at all these massive cities and that Chicago isn't as bad as a lot of them, and they think it's because of our garbage systems in Chicago, because Chicago like went through a weird stage where, like, with garbage, and so they started building alleys and stuff for all garbage to go down, and that they think that it might just the virus might just keep getting trapped, and like the alleys are where it likes to be, whereas out on the streets it doesn't like to be there, like the way that Chicago is designed. So they think that it might have something to do with how Chicago handles their garbage is with alleyways and stuff, and the garbage trucks can literally just go through Chicago without being on the streets,
Well,
just
one
by going
thing,
through alleys. And they're like, maybe, like, we think that's why, because we keep finding it in the alleys, and then we literally go 20 feet away and we don't find it anymore. Like, what? Like,
well, I mean,
how?
Chicago is one of those cities that I don't think people are aware of, but like you guys have like lower layers of Chicago.
Yeah.
So like there's shit that people never even fucking see because they never have any reason to interact with it.
Hmm.
Um, but unlike New York, which would make sense, right? So New York doesn't have those alleyways at all.
It
There's
was it
like
was when it was
most of
built.
the city of New York was just built right fucking next to each other.
Yeah,
Like,
it was built in the grid system that it already is. So where Chicago morphed and changed throughout its time, by the time that New York was like, "Oh, we should not build in this system." Well, we're already built in this system, so we
a
can't
little bit
change it.
too late, yeah.
Yeah,
And not
where
only
Chicago
that,
had the
whenever
time.
they had to figure out like how are we gonna, whenever heating and HVAC came in, and they started doing the tunnels and all that other kind of stuff, like the subways and stuff, they were like, how do we vent? There were a lot of other, airflow problems. Like, how do you do HVAC on a building that is like a brownstone that's 3 stories tall, tucked in the middle of two 20-story buildings?
Hmm.
That brownstone's never going to be able to get air, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it's going to be super hot and fucking unlivable. So they actually connected most of the like main island on New York, like Manhattan and those areas,
Hmm.
are pretty much hooked into the subway systems, right? And that's where their ventilation and their fresh air actually comes from, is it gets pulled into the subway systems and then up into the actual city itself, unless it's a skyscraper that can provide its own ventilation and air and whatnot. So most of these apartment buildings that are, let's say 5 to 10 stories tall, you know what I mean? They're pulling air from the same source as 10,000 other apartment buildings.
And it's cold,
Yeah,
damp.
yeah.
Like in
It's
some
getting
areas it's freezing, some areas it's super hot, and no matter what, it's damp. So
Chicago's fucking. I love Chicago. I mean, you can get lost in Chicago with all the little
yeah.
different alleyways and fucking. The
Yeah,
first
and
time I
like
ever,
some alleyways have street names, and
yeah,
so like you're walking through and you're like, oh, and like you'll be using like your GPS and it will be like turn down blah blah street, and you look and it's just dumpsters as far as the eye can see down the street, and you're like, how is this a road? Because it was a road at some point and got turned into an alley. That's why, but
yeah. I mean, the first time I ever went to the House of Blues, I was going to see Cradle of Filth. Like I had met them 4 days before, and it had been a wild 4 days, and they were like, "Meet us in Chicago too, man." And like when we got there and followed their directions, we like went underneath Chicago. I was like, "Holy fuck!"
oh yeah,
It's so crazy
yeah,
because you
Chicago's weird
just
because
see like banks of fucking just air purification systems and like all kinds of crazy shit, and you see all the plumbing of the city and all that shit, and you're like
yeah, and
driving.
there's like 2 layers of Chicago that like
No one
people can
sees.
just access. Like two
You can
layers
walk
of
down into it, but like nobody really does because there's nothing but dangerous shit down there unless
yeah,
you
but
need to
like
work down there.
even like living like it's weird like how like I would like Madison Street. Literally there's Upper Madison and Lower Madison and it's streets literally they're on top of each other. Like that's weird. Like that why is that a thing? Which I mean, it's cool we got to be in the Dark Knight because of that street, but literally it's the same street and follows generally the same
Path.
paths, but because traffic was so bad, they were like, well, what if we just build it on top of itself and then connect them once in the low traffic areas? Well, yeah, that sounds like a plan. Like, sure, let's do that.
Yeah, why not,
Like,
man? Fuck it. Chicago's cool though. I like Chi-Town, man. Fucking food. City's cool.
have you
People are.
ever have you ever seen the Agua Tower or
No.
Aqua Tower? I don't remember which one it is, but so it's my girlfriend's favorite building. It's a hotel, and it's also designed. It was the first one that was fully designed from concept to it's there by a woman, which is why my girlfriend's an architect, so that's part of why she loves it. But it's really really cool. It's they have glass. It's like a big glass building that's formed in a way that looks like flowing water, and it twists or it looks like it's the water like flows in a spiral direction and moves and stuff. And then like also like as you walk with the sun glaring on it, like that's when it like from far away it looks like it, and then from up close if you're walking like 4 blocks away from it and you're walking around and you see it, it does look like because of the sun reflections, it looks like water flowing down a skyscraper. It's so cool.
That is pretty cool. I'll have to try and check that out. I've never
It,
seen that before. I mean, I've done like the Navy Pier. I've been to Wrigley.
it's yeah, it's over by Buckingham Fountain. It's like 5 to 10 minute walk from Buckingham Fountain.
I just sold a bunch of shit door to door in Chicago and went to a bunch of raves. So I was either selling shit to people or there at middle of the night. So a lot of the cool like touristy stuff I never even in most cities I've never even noticed.
Yeah, the touristy stuff in Chicago is kind of
Lame.
yeah. Yeah, it's like look at that building. Like if you like looking at stuff and if you really like staring at it and contemplating life while looking at it, I mean Chicago's amazing. I'm one of those people that I go to a museum and I look and I'm like, oh, that's cool. if it looks cool enough for me to read it, then I'll read it. If it's not, I can be in and out of a full museum in like 2 hours. Like I like I mean I enjoy going to them, but I'm also like
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff to do in Chicago. It's just most people don't ever think of it to do it because they just go to Chicago for other reasons. I mean, like the food. You could spend days just like eating all the different kinds of food.
Yeah.
So much fucking food.
Just I'm a
Like the gas stations have amazing fucking food.
Everything in Chicago has great food. And yeah, like gas stations have great food because if they don't, they lose business that way. Like because everything has food and so well like there's food everywhere. So you want more money? You have better food. People are already stopping for your gas. Do you want them to literally go 3 doors down for food, or go into your place of business for food? I guess if it makes me more money, I'll have good food too.
And I mean, mostly you find hot dogs and the beef. You know what I mean? Pretty much everywhere, and they're so easy to fucking make.
Yeah, I can make Chicago quality hot dogs by going to Walmart. It's not difficult to do. You just gotta do it the right way. And like literally, so they boil their hot dogs, and you gotta get a certain kind of hot dog, which is usually ballpark. You gotta get like ballpark Franks and boil them, and that's step one. And then from there, you just gotta pick the right brands, like the right brands, the right flavors of products.
Good tomatoes, the right peppers.
Oh, so like yeah, for that kind of stuff, you get fresh. And then when you go to like the relish, it's Heinz. So like you gotta get like the right relish. You gotta get the right ketchup, or I guess Chicago doesn't do ketchup because they're weird. Right mustard though, and
Yep. It's what mustard, relish, tomatoes, onions, 2 peppers, and the dog.
Yeah.
I
don't even
love
know.
that fucking hot dog, man. I'm a hot dog guy. Being from West Virginia, we have the slaw dog, which is mustard, dog. Doesn't matter how the fucking dog's made. We don't give a shit. Preferred not boiled just because it's not as good as grilled, we think.
Yeah, I'm not a boiled guy. But hey, when you're walking in with the hot dog cart, it's easy to have a boiling vat of water just throw dogs in.
Yeah, right.
So,
I don't know. I get it. But then we put so mustard, dog, slaw, and what we call sauce. So it's not really a chili. It's more of like a meat sauce. It's a little different. It's kind of hard to describe to people because you don't really make it exactly like a chili. It's more meat and its juices as opposed to
closer to a sloppy Joe than a chili.
Closer to a sloppy though than a chili, but it's like there's not a lot of spices that get added.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the color itself is just the meat and the way it's cooked and the combination of the grease. Yeah. It's good shit.
I'm done with that. I hate I'm not a big fan of Chicago dogs. Too much stuff. I'm a simple man.
I love the Chicago dog, man. Like the first time I had one of those, I was
I'm a 2 condiment kind of guy when it comes to hot dogs. You open up the bun. On one side you put something, the other side you put the other thing. You drop the dog in, and that's what you eat. I also hate deep dish pizza.
Ooh, that's brave.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm not I don't like the texture of tomatoes. And deep dish pizza has like hunks of tomato in it.
It usually does, yeah. I could get that.
So
I could see why you wouldn't. I could get deep dish. Yeah. I mean, I love it. I think it's great just because you eat one fucking piece and you're like, oh, I'm fucking done.
And a lot of people don't know two separate kinds of Chicago pizzas. There's deep dish, which everyone knows, and the Chicago style. And so deep dish is the sauce on top. You do
Right.
bread, cheese, toppings, sauce. Then the Chicago style is built just like a normal pizza, but deep dish. So it's the deep bread or the deep crust with sauce, cheese, toppings, and I work at a pizza place right now, and I did not know that that was a thing until all of a sudden someone like one of the counter kid came up and he was like, "This stupid person." They asked for a deep dish pizza, and I said, "Which kind, Chicago style or deep dish?" And they were like, "That's the same thing." And I'm like, and they were like, "No, you're wrong." And I was like, "Isn't it the same thing?" And they're like, "Nope. I mean, I just deliver the food, so I mean,
Yeah.
hey, like, I don't care." But I
Well,
was
I
like,
knew the difference because I'm not a fan of the Chicago style. Like, why? Why are you gonna? Because all you're doing is you're putting all the sauce on the bottom of all the meat and the vegetables and the good shit above it, and all that shit's gonna leak down onto the fucking crust and make your crust suck dick.
we don't sell very many Chicago styles because most people, when they order deep dish, they want deep dish.
Well, I mean,
And
I don't know very many Chicagoans who actually eat Chicago style fucking deep dish because it's stupid. It defeats the purpose of reversing the ingredients. When you reverse the ingredients, everything gets to absorb all the juices and the flavors
yeah,
before the shit does. So that way you can actually pick it up and eat it like a piece of pizza if you so
I'm
desire to make that mess. Or you can just use a fork and a fucking knife.
see. I think my hatred also for deep dish stems from I traveled a lot in my years that I would be experimenting with food. I traveled a lot, which meant I got a lot of other cultures and a lot of other places and nothing from Chicago because I didn't live in this area for 4 years. So those 4 years I went and I ended up falling in love with New York style because I lived out there during the time period that I'd be like, I'm eating pizza every night.
Yeah,
And so
when
it's
it comes to pizza.
the floppy, greasy stuff that you have to fold in half to eat. That gets me. I love it so much. And out there, so in because I lived in Connecticut, which they still do New York style in
No, all of New
Connecticut.
England does.
Yeah,
It's really a New England style, but
yeah,
fucking New
and
Yorkers.
and they do a thing called mashed potato pizza, which is one of the
What?
greatest things I've ever tasted. So they do like a three cheese blend with so like a three cheese mashed potato with a garlic mashed potato blend, and it's like real homemade mashed potatoes, and then they do the floppy pizza crust, Alfredo sauce, and then this blend of two different types of mashed potatoes, and then they put like Asiago cheese and mozzarella over top of it, and that's the pizza.
I think I'm
And
gonna have to try that. That sounds fucking good. I've never heard of
y-
that. That sounds
yeah,
really
and
fucking
it's
good.
only like in Connecticut, I only saw like a handful of places that carried it.
Yeah, fuck, I'll
Probably
make it
because,
myself.
yeah, I'm like, but that was amazing. Like I was like, man, like also I played hockey at the time, so I was like, I can eat as many carbs as I want, so it was perfect. But yeah, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Yeah, their pizza's great. I think my favorite food from traveling anywhere will always be, I guess, what would be called. See, it's because my three favorite sandwiches are the Reuben, the steak, and the steak. Like one's an Italian style and one's not really Philly style.
Mhm.
because Philly style is weird. Like I've got this affinity for this, like what they call the cheesesteak or the Philly cheesesteak. Like they're actually two different sandwiches.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Chicago deep dish thing, right? But the difference is the Philly cheesesteak has fucking cheese whizzes in it,
Mhm.
and it's disgusting as fuck. You don't ever put cheese whiz on a fucking beautiful sandwich like the cheesesteak, right? So what they do is like I found out from the time I spent in New Jersey and Philly and like that whole area, Northeast, is like there. If you say you want a steak, kind of like in Chicago, you can just say, "Hey, give me a steak," and they
Mhm.
just make you the Italian steak. In out on the East Coast and up north, if you say you want a steak, they give you a cheesesteak without the fucking cheese whiz. And then they like you because you're not eating that bullshit cheese whiz shit. Because the
Mhm.
only people, and like if you be ever, you can look into this. It's like I got a whole joke about it that I've been working on for fucking months, but that I can't seem to hash out all the way. But like, there's a gas station that actually taught me the finer points of the cheesesteak. Right? It's called Wawa,
Mhm.
and because they started in Pennsylvania, but they didn't start in Philly, they always their cheesesteaks never had cheese whiz in it. And then those two guys had the really famous place, Geno's and Pat's. Everybody knows about from like the Travel Channel and all that shit. And in order for them to differentiate their shit from everybody else, they started using the cheese whiz. Or at least this is my theory, because they've both been around for fucking ever. And then Tony's up the street started using it too. So the three main cheesesteak places in Philly, where supposedly that sandwich is from, are all using cheese whiz now. So everybody's all like, yeah, let's put cheese whiz on this sandwich. That's bullshit. That's like putting A1 on a good steak. What the
Yeah.
fuck? You have that beautifully fucking shredded meat, those wonderful fucking peppers, the onions, the fucking cheese, a little bit of mayonnaise. Like, that's a fucking beautiful sandwich. And then you put cheese whiz on it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? I get angry about that shit.
Cheese
Uh,
whiz is so disgusting.
it's
I mean,
good on like saltine crackers or
oh, not even.
like other poop food, because
when
like,
I was like when I was like 8, cheese was the shit. But also when I was 8, my taste buds knew two things: salt and sugar. And and then I became a palatable normal human being, I was like, that's shit. That's the worst thing you could put in your body. And also, salt and sugar don't taste that great either. So,
well, I mean, they don't. I agree, but I mean, I'm not against all cheese whizzes, just cheese whizzes on good fucking sandwiches.
um, so I went to England a year ago, 2 years ago. I don't know when the wedding happened. Harry and Meghan got married.
Yeah.
I was in England for that, and I uh I had some phenomenal food. First of all, they know how to deep fry.
Yes, they do.
Their deep frying. I've had Southern cooking. I've been to New Orleans. England knows how to fucking deep fry. They can deep fry some fish if for their lives they have to. Um, One thing I found interesting. So in America, we steroid up our cows, and so they have more meat. And also, America's massive, so our states are bigger than some countries.
Yeah.
So, so we have a lot of land for cows to be. In England, they not only don't have very many cows, they also don't steroid up their cows. So all of their, like, if they give you a hamburger, is 50% beef, 50% turkey, because they can have fucking a lot of turkeys. Like, they don't take up much space. So
That makes me
that's,
really sad.
but let me tell you, it's so good, and it's like such a shock to the system. So, like, I was there for 2.5 weeks. In the very beginning, you go to McDonald's, and you're like, and everything, like, even the Fanta, which I think I can show you right here. I brought this back with me. So this is orange Fanta. It's yellow because they don't put all of the stupid shit
In it.
in it. So, but they don't. So they don't salt their fries, and their burgers are bland because they don't season anything either. But they hand you salt and pepper packets when you order anything, and also their burgers are half beef, half turkey, everywhere you go. But McDonald's, you're expecting one thing, and you don't get it. But after that 2.5 weeks, I like I honestly felt better because I'm eating this weird food that's not full of sugar and salt, and I'm like, and it's healthier meat to begin with. 'Cause turkey's super healthy for you, more than beef is, and it was amazing. But like, yeah, like they don't salt their fries, so they hand you a salt packet, and they're like, if you want salt on your fries, we put more oil on our fries, so that way the salt sticks to your fries if you salt them. Like, but you play it your own game. You salt it the taste.
That's nice of
Whereas we're like, fuck it. We know how much salt you want. Eat this salt.
them.
And that's why we're fat, but you know.
And I think we'll leave it at that because that ain't a lie, man. Food is good. I got somewhere I got to be in about 20 minutes.
All right.
Online. We've definitely hit the hour, I believe. So what was it? Remind everybody what the name of your podcast is. If you got any Facebook pages, any Instagram pages,
So,
any pages, whatever you want people to check out.
so you can look us up wherever you find podcasts. You hate to see it. We are just three drunk friends having fun. We have a Twitter at YOUH82CIT, and for all of our podcasts or for all of our links for our podcast, you can visit anchor.fm/H82CIT.
Awesome. Well, brother, I look forward to being on your show tomorrow night,
Yeah,
and you enjoy the rest of your evening.
yeah, you too.
Thanks.